Oh, I thought, here comes the punishment. She's going to make me eat them. I was reluctant, but what could I do? I opened my mouth and in went the panty section of the hose. I had a slight gag reflex, but I managed to cough and sputter a bit and not get choked on the material. But I wasn't shocked at this punishment until she wrapped the legs of the tights several times around and tied them tightly behind my head. I had expected to have to suck the tights for a minute, but the tying seemed unnecessary since I was prepared to take this punishment. But my mom had apparently done some thinking about this since the last time I was caught. Somehow she'd gotten the idea that she could shock my deviant behavior out of me. That is what I surmised, anyway, when she picked up several lengths of rope and began wrapping them around my ankles, tying me firmly to the bedpost. She was nothing if not thorough. She tied my ankles, knees, waist, chest, upper arms, elbows and wrists tightly to the bedpost. I was fully immobilized from head to foot with my wrists high up on the post. I was confused by this seemingly bizarre punishment, but I was also somewhat aroused. After stepping back and examining her work, she turned and said, "Good night," just before she turned out the light and pulled the door closed behind her. Needless to say, I was a little panicked. The tight bondage had left me pulled up to the post with only my toes touching the floor. I could sag in my bonds, but it was mentally difficult to give up that scant contact with the floor. I had never spent a night in full bondage before, and it was very scary. For what seemed like hours, I alternated between agony, guilt, and sexual ecstasy. Luckily Mom couldn't sleep either. She must have been thinking about thing over some strong drink. Mom was never much of a drinker, but when she came back in the room some time later she was a little shaky on her feet. I'm not sure she was fully drunk, but she was not exactly herself either. She just stood there, looking at me with bleary, tear-stained eyes. I was soaked with sweat and the inevitable messy results of my stimulating situation. As the minutes passed, I awaited my next fate in anxious agony. She examined me with a sad look on her face. She said nothing until she noticed the large wet spot in the front of my ruffled panties. I just looked at her with ashamed exhaustion. "No, no, no," she muttered into her hands. Exasperated, she said, "I see that your punishment has had the wrong impact on you. I just don't know what to do with you. I love you, but you have to learn that you can't play like this." She entered my closet and brought out one of my leather belts. The energy flowed back into my body as I realized I was about to get the first strapping of my life. I've never had to raise my hand to you before, but I have to make an impression on you. I'm sorry, sweetie.